Well, the sun is shining on this Thursday, August the 27th here as we begin a new week at Gulfstream Park. A 9-race Thursday, very little wind outside and quite the scene there with those postcard South Florida palm trees standing at attention. We'll get settled in. A big week, in fact, coming up as we more or less have the month of August, swan song. Jason Blewett in the meantime joining you, and it's good to have your company with us here on this live Thursday edition of Gulfstream Park today. But aside from the weather and the $450,000 guaranteed jackpot Rainbow Six on today's card, we cap the month in style, and we do that here over the weekend with round 2 of the 2020 Florida Sire Stakes. And as we bring in Ron Nicoletti, Ronnie, Saturday is going to be a big one here at GP. We run 12. We've got 4 stakes in the mix, and you've got the respective winners of both the Desert Vixen and the Dr. Fager coming back to try to win that second leg.
Yeah, it's always fun to see if someone's going to sweep all 3 divisions, the 3 legs, the 6 furlong, 7, and the mile in the 16th. And 2 horses can possibly do that on this Saturday. And you mentioned we got a couple of nice stakes on the grass for fillies, 2-year-olds, and Colts and Geldings, 2-year-olds. So lots of 2-year-olds on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's a day, absolutely. I mean, the higher echelon or upper echelon devoted to the 2-year-old racing at Gulfstream. And we have a nice, actually, 2-year-old maiden special weight that'll go in race number 2. And in fact, the 2 very early favorites in the double wheel page, you've got Mike Yates and Ralph Nix in the mix, and both of those guys a big part of the conversation in the Affirmed and the Susan's Girl. Yet they are not the only big-time story here throughout the week. Saturday will be a mandatory force-out in the Rainbow Six, and that'll be a sequence, Ronnie, as far as the Rainbow is concerned. I mean, you've got 4 stakes. I mean, 2/3 of that pick 6 is going to be all about the stakes competition.
Yeah, it always makes it fun because you got to see if you could single maybe a couple and bring down the Rainbow Six. So
Spanish love affair. How about that Cassie filly?
Yeah, I mean, 1 by 11 lengths. That looks like maybe it's going to be a Rainbow pick 5. Who knows?
Could be, my friend. Now, in looking at the rematch of the Desert Vixen, we'll give a little tease here at the top of the show before we get down to the nitty-gritty on today's 9-race program. You've got the first 4 finishers returning from the Desert Vixen. 3 very important fillies out of the top 4. Princess Secret, who was the beaten even money favorite but did run well. Freak, who maybe moved a hair too soon, and she's commencing that wide run out there and drifted off the 3/16 pole. And the eventual winner for Mike Yates and Go Jojo Go, who, I'll tell you, Ronnie, wet track aside, I really like the way Go Jojo Go finished in this race. And, man, if you ask me now, I like her to come back and win this second round as I think she's going to appreciate when you watch her finish up. I think she's going to like the 7/8.
Yeah, well, just by watching that race, you would think she would want to go longer. Now, you were right. That was on the sealed sloppy track. So sort of going to even things out. And then you see Freak 7-2. I did go with Princess Secret. I like the way that horse fought back again. But Go Jojo Go, certainly the one to beat off that performance in the opening leg of the Sire Stakes series.
And you've got Breeze on By for trader Ralph Nix, who once again tangles with Mike Yates in the upcoming second race, where Mike is sending out the favorite in that spot, and Ralph has got a firster by Vancouver. Now, Ralph's in fact got like the old school D. Wayne Lucas move, or even maybe a Chad Brown move in a Grade 1 turf race, where Ralph is sending out a third of the field. He's got the 4 Big Daddy Dave, the 5 Cezanne, and of course Breeze on By, who was a perfect 2 for 2 and was quite game last time out in the Dr. Fager.
Yeah, once again, they're going to answer that big question. Can they handle 7/8 of a mile? And that what makes this race even more fun. I think what to beat there, 6-5 on the morning line.
Yeah, that's Pete's morning line there. I think Gatsby's going to avenge that narrow loss in the Fager. I think the stretch to 7 may help him out. But again, that is Saturday, and we'll obviously be talking and covering our lead up into round 2, the second leg of the Florida Sire Stakes, as the week progresses. But we can't go any further here on the broadcast before really diving into the program amid fast and firm conditions on this Thursday card. And we'll check out my early pick 5 as I come back in off a little bit of a layoff. And I think a good chunk, maybe 85 to 90%, although it's a 12-horse field. the majority of this first race is about the 6 Anti-Reen and the number 9 More Diamonds, and I also included the Dave Fox train, number 12 Little Shamrock. Now, we've already mentioned Mike Yates a couple of times. He's got the 4 Poppy's Pride in that upcoming second race, who I am going to single, and I'm hoping experience helps that gelding by Kozan out. And I've got just coverage the remainder of the way. Nothing too out of the ordinary, although I do like this first race, Ronnie, and in fact, I like the horse you and I both picked on top in the form of the 9 More Diamonds. And I think the one real trait or attribute that may separate this filly by Jamalogist from the 6 Anti-Reen, because they both run pretty well on the turf. It's the early speed that More Diamonds brings to the race. I think that is going to help her out come crunch time.
Yeah, she's returning to the turf and cutting back to the 5 furlongs with that speed needed to win the Open. I saw it as exactly as you did, from on or just off the pace today. Fernando Abreu had a good week last week with a couple of winners. Miguel Vasquez named to ride. And Anti-Reen will be there to pick up the pieces if the number 9 horse doesn't negotiate the distance.
You've got a little bit of an X factor on the outside in the 12 Little Shamrock, who we know cost a lot, didn't debut until late May of her 4-year-old season. She has shown speed and quit against better. Does the turf maybe carry her along? And she does have a Misael riding from the outside. I thought she was worth including, Ronnie, and clearly you agree. That early speed, although I like More Diamonds in that department a bit better, Little Shamrock, to me, is the wild card in this upcoming first race field.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you added that one to your ticket, because I felt that this horse can somehow carve out a good trip from that tough outside post. Could be dangerous there in the drop for Dave Fox.
Now, the second, as we hit the main track, and again, a week very much about the South Florida-based 2-year-olds, which are a big part of the summer anyway, but we kind of will set the table, so to speak, with this Florida-bred 2-year-old maiden special weight on the dirt going 5 furlongs, and once again, a scenario that's going to present itself here on Saturday's big day with Mike Yates and Ralph Nix sending out the 2 favorites in the form of Poppy's Pride and the first of the 5 Lost to Legend. Now, we'll go back and look at Poppy's Pride. There's not a whole lot to see other than just a good effort with a gelding who's just run fine in his 2 starts to date. I really like this race that he's coming out of. I don't know if it's going to help you, because he's going to be most likely a clear and comfortable favorite in this upcoming second, because he's got experience in a race that's dominated by first-time starters. But I think this isolate Boomer race with Poppy's Pride weakening to finish third, I think this is going to be a live race, my friend. We've had one horse come out of this spot and come back to win a maiden claimer, and I'm hoping Poppy's Pride, like you, makes it a perfect 2 for 2 from that race.
Yeah, the most accomplished runner in the field, as you mentioned, replete with a lot of first-time starters in here. Lost to Legend, the son of Vancouver, by Medaglia, debuting for Ralph Nix, who's good with his freshman runners. You couldn't leave him off. And, you know, I had it, and I know your dad both have interest in doo-wop Don. We're old doo-woppers,
right.
So we both gotta have that one on the ticket for Eddie Pleaser Jr.
Right, that's a cult I dialed in, and I saw the name and immediately had a flashback to sitting in the back seat of my dad's Buick LeSabre with cousin Brucey on.
There you go. That's what I knew. That's why I knew both of them and I would have them on our ticket.
Yeah, a little doo-wop Don from that inside post. We'll move on to the third, my friend, and we'll stay on the dirt. Yet we're out to the longest race so far today as we get ready to battle a mile with this 2 lifetime 12-5 3-and-up claimer. I'd say the horse to beat is probably the 5-3 Deep, who's going to stretch out. And here's the thing, and I'll let you talk about your top pick here off the claim for Gilberto Zerpa. I do like, although this is a barn that maybe doesn't run all that many in races beyond 6.5 or 7 furlongs on the dirt here, I do like the fact that the 5-3 Deep, not only from just an overall talent level, I like that this horse has run well going this trip in the past.
Yeah, going to Gilberto's barn after the claim, stretching out to the mile, responded last time to the drop down in competition with that second against those 10 maidens, going 7/8 of a mile. You know how good the barn is first off the claim. Embassy El Jaramillo in the saddle today. We basically we've had like 3 consecutive races with the super just about. I went with Strong ending in second, and you got Sensazione on top of your ticket.
Yeah, I mean, this is a compact field of 6, and the 2, 5, and 6 are going to take the lion's share of the play. Now, in the case of Sensazione, I'm looking at a horse, a gelding by Bernardini, who's just improved. He's sharp. He stepped up his game. And out of the number of new faces that arrived here, say, post-Florida Derby, I've liked the work of trainer from a few of the guys we had come down here and stable basically on a full-time basis from the Mid-Atlantic. I think I've liked the work of Alfredo Velasquez the most of those former Parks trainers, and I got no qualms with that horse off the claim. I'm going to take the 2 Senzaoni over Ronnie's top pick, and we'll take a little time out here with the opening 3 down. We'll chase the rainbow after this.
Second in the 2 path. Ground on first inside. Racing. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
About 45 minutes out from the start of a new week here, new 4-day racing week towards the end of August 2020. That infield lake shimmering, the sun is shining. Pretty nice day here for thoroughbred racing. In fact, a very nice day as we again settle in over the next few hours here at Gulfstream Park in Hallandale Beach. And Ronnie, before we go forward and take a look at your near $500 million Rainbow Six Pool ticket, we've got to just bring up the rundown for tomorrow's Stronach 5, a new round chasing that $100,000 guarantee.
Yeah, it looks like we've had this template over the last couple of weeks with our final race as part of the sequence, race number 9. 3 from Laurel, and of course we ended with the second race at Golden Gate Fields. Last week we had the winner of the first race paid $52, and I think the winner of the last race paid $53. So you had favorites in between 2 bombers on top and bottom.
But no carryover, obviously. Somebody hit the thing.
Yeah, $47,000 if I remember. Looks like it was with the 2 tickets or something like that.
It feels like it was probably 2 winners, and hopefully they'll be back in the pool this go-round on that Friday card, August the 28th. Now, here locally, we've got the Rainbow Six, and again, Saturday is a mandatory day, but with the guarantee at 450 large, my friend, you're going to take a little bit of a gander at it, and I'm wondering, because there were some notable and somewhat noteworthy early scratches fairly late in the sequence. I got to think you had to go back and call an audible or 2 throughout the sequence.
Yeah, I did, and I got a $43.20 ticket. I like the 10 in here. Mozano, I use Romario, Skyline View. I'm a little afraid of that one horse that you're going to show a video of Dr. Samadi, who I didn't use on my ticket. Too deep in race number 5. I like Got Glee for Steve Caceres and beating the odds. And then race number 6, Got Vindintive, I think it's pronounced, a daughter of Competitive Edge, debuting for Terry Pompey. And then too deep in race number 8 this afternoon with the 3 Dad's Yankees, my long shot at 10-1, and Kalu is the big favorite. And 3 deep in the last. But I want to hear about that low horse you like in the last, Star Weaver. Did not use that one on my ticket.
Yeah, I've been waiting for him to run back, and he's been reined off a couple of times. And by all means, he's a bit of a stab. But I think there's enough meat on the bone that not only is he worth a big mention as far as leading up to the race in the Thursday finale, I think win, lose, or draw, I think he's going to run well, and think he's going to get a piece of that at the very least, hoping he's good enough for the win. But that's a bit later on. Now, this 4th race, as we chase the rainbow, you've got 2 horses down towards the inside, and the 1 Dr. Samadi and the 2 Romario, who, for me anyway, I think they come into this race with major, major questions, not only just gauging their current form, which is dicey. I think the mile is going to be, just the distance of this thing is going to be a big test for everybody. Most noteworthy, Dr. Samadi and Romario. Now, I pulled the replay of Dr. Samadi's debut. This is 3 back now towards the end of May. And I pulled it because at the time, I felt this was an effort, although that came up fairly solid as far as the speed figure for a $25,000 maiden claimer. I felt this late run this horse puts in on the outside was a bit illusory. And to me, and I think I used the definition sucking up in his second start on the dirt where he was nowhere to be found at 8-5 odds and was claimed out of that race. Now, since then, Ronnie, he had the one race on the turf. I liked him last time. He didn't lift a hoof. He's in for the 10,000. Now, that may wake him up this afternoon for top connections in Maker and Edgard, but to me, he's a little dicey, and I worry about the two Romario going this distance as well, though he may have a bit more speed. I've got major hang-ups with those two inside horses that are going to take most of the money in this upcoming fourth race.
Yeah, I wanted to watch one from Dr. Samani. Romario was only previous race going a mile on the dirt, was against much better, was against $40,000 maidens, goes back to the main track, returned from an extended layoff, finished at 5th behind that repeat winner, Franco's team. Maybe this drop is a good spot, but I did go with the outside horse who you got in 4th, Mazzano. Was going to break from the outside and race without the blinkers today, tracked the pace and finished third, again similar, at the same level in distance. The barn shows a bit of a positive ROI with first-time blinkers. Took a little shot with the outside horse in here. I got to watch from the one. If the one beats me, so be it. I'll watch the board. Maybe I'll change my ticket around a little bit.
Now, Skyline View is also much like Mazzano. You've got the quartet of horses coming out of the race against Tony Small here, the nightcap on August 7th. Tony Small won that race for Safi and Edgard, and he paid $4 in the process. I wanted, because again, I think this 1 mile distance is really going to be the separator between who can go it or who can do it and who's not going to be up to snuff. I wanted somebody that could just chug along that kind of first gear, gallop you into the ground. And Skyline View, I think, has that style. And his last race, he actually ran okay in that spot. So in off a good race, I just felt as though he'd be the one maybe most likely to go the distance in that upcoming fourth as we start the Rainbow Six. Now, the late pick 5, again, just 9 here today and tomorrow. That means our late pick 5 begins in Thursday's 5th. The Battleground is on the turf going 5 furlongs. And this race going in is I think, most importantly, about the rematch from August 6th between the 7 Got Glee and the 6 Sugar Bolt. Use both of them. The other horse would be the inside posted number 1, beating the odds. I've got a 3-horse spread in the 6th race. A lot of guesswork to be had. I mean, obviously that is a field dominated by first-time starters with a big scratch of the 4 flying back to boot. Too deep for me in the 7th. That's the one race today whose complexion really changed. Not only did you lose the favorite and a clear favorite in Cat Lady Steph, the pace in that one is completely different. So I included the 10, who I didn't like originally in Twice as Magical because of the early speed factor, but I think the 3 Classy Beast is going to run well for trainer David Fox. To me, Kalu almost looks too good to be true, but he's a horse who's probably going to be flirting around 4 to 5 even money or so, and I singled him as a big favorite. And I've got coverage in that last race, including the number 12 Star Weaver, who, again, tweeted out yesterday and even this morning. I've been waiting for that horse to run back, and he'll try his hand this afternoon going 5 furlongs on the turf. At least he's going to get, in all likelihood, a fast pace to close down. The 5th race, speaking of a fast pace, you've got Sugar Bolt, again, knocking heads with Got Glee. And we'll venture back to their last start in tandem here on the afternoon of August the 6th. And I look at Got Glee, who did run well off her layoff, but she had the way more comfortable trip, basically tracking inside more or less in the pocket. Whereas Sugar Bolt had the misfortune, and she has not looked like the Sugar Bolt of last year. I need not to mince words, and she's trying to find an identity, but this is not the trip that she wants. She had the misfortune of catching the 2 Charliana, who's a rocket ship, who may not stick around, but she's a very fast horse. Ronnie, although Got Glee outfinishes Sugar Bolt, and Sugar Bolt has not looked like her 2019 self, I don't see anybody potentially that can match strides with her. I'd love to see her blast off, and if she's somewhat the horse she once was, I think she can turn the tables on Got Glee and wire this thing in the 5th.
Yeah, she's eligible to bounce back after dueling for leader. You saw her tired there in that race there. But Got Glee is from the Steve Clissaris bond. And, boy, you can get hurt if you don't use Steve Clissaris in turf sprints. Want to show you a stat. With his turf sprinters all levels, just over the past year, he's 19 for 67, 28%, 46% in the money, 290 to return investment. I split Got Glee and Sugar Bolt with the horse that you alluded to, beating the odds, is making her first start since following her 2 lifetime victory. Late closing fourth, Amanda De La Cerda, Embassy El Jaramillo, inside draw this afternoon. Maybe this one can grab a share, but I like Got Glee on top of my ticket.
No, beating the odds was good 2 back. I didn't think she ran nearly as well in her most recent start for Armando, where she just sat inside and was behind horses and was very much one pace, but she does get a Misao off a little bit of a reset this afternoon. The 1, 6, and 7, in some way, shape, or form, they do look like the big 3 in that 5th race. Now, the 6th, again, we run into a portion of the card where we had some and have some very notable defections. I think first and foremost, the 4 Flying Back, who look very live by a freshman sire, and not this time, who just seems to be racking up one win after another in the breeding shed. Now, with the absence of that filly, you've got the Terry Pompey firster, and it's funny, Ronnie, this stat you sent in, I like it, and we'll check it out as Terry's running this filly by competitive edge. This normally, in my mind, this is not, and I wrote, this isn't a real typical spot we see Terry's horses run in, but clearly the few 2-year-old starters she's had, she's done outstanding work with.
Yeah, I was amazed when I saw the stat myself. 4 for 13, 31%, 62% in the money in positive return on investment. She doesn't do it very often, as you can see, with only 13 starters, but she gets the job done. And I had this horse on top of my ticket all along, and I started looking up the stats when I was handicapping. I said, boy, this is a good stat. So I was glad to have it on top. I think this one with Lionel Reyes can run well. But, as you mentioned, a lot of first-time starters, a lot of guesswork in race number 6.
You'd like to think, being by competitive edge, the 3 Venative is going to have some early speed. The 2 Miss Michaela, 1 of 2 in the race for Antonio. Now, that's the filly by Tonalist that does get Edgar riding. Antonio also setting out the 7, Maria's Barrage, who didn't get bet, didn't run all that fast, but did have a legitimately slow and very awkward break in her debut here towards the end of last month. Back to the turf we go, moving on to Thursday 7th, which is a 3-and-up filly and mare 2 lifetime claimer. Biggest scratch, bar none today, is the 4 Cat Lady Steph. And not only do you have a horse who was the real storyline of the race out, if there was one horse off the bat that benefited, I think it's got to be the 10, Twice as Magical, Ronnie. I mean, the pace matchup in this race just does not look as taxing for her without Cat Lady Steph in the mix.
Yeah, that one making his first start since dueling for the lead and finishing second at this level and distance back in June for Emmy Gaffney. You get an apprentice, Joseph Trejo's handling. Now it's post 8 on the outside. This one looks like it could be very dangerous. And I did the same thing as you did. I added this horse after the scratch of the number 4 horse in there. We both have the 3 Classy Beast on top of our ticket, who was a slow starting third against those 50 starter optional claimers on the turf. That was a couple of starts back. Drops today into the non-winners of 2. Is setting the pace, chasing the pace, actually, against those 75 optional claimers. That was on that good main track. It's Dave. It's Embassy El Jaramillo, Dave Forks I'm alluding to. I thought that was the one to beat, especially with the scratch of the 4 horse in there.
I am worried, and I left my top pick alone because I had picked Classy Beast thinking she was just going to get a decent trip, although I'm a little worried that 5/8 might be a hair short watching that turf debut of hers, which was very good. But for being in the camp of the 3 Classy Beast and by extension the 1 Tony's Rose, who share a number of parallels on paper, I think you got to go into this thing a little worried, though. They're not going to get, in all likelihood, the same kind of setup they were going to had Cat Lady Steph stayed in and potentially hooked up with Twice as Magical.
Yeah, and that's absolutely why you got to use the number 10 Twice as Magical on your ticket. If that one gets loose, could be very dangerous in race number 7.
The final dirt race on the program will go in the 8th. It's a 62.50 claiming spot. And between the form, even drawing a line or putting your hand over the last out, which just got a big number, that off-the-turf race for the 4 Kalu, that, again, on Bayer came up very fast here, going 5 furlongs in the middle of July. Even forgetting about that race, I still think this gelding has just held his form throughout 2020 better than the others, and that narrow loss 2 back against Northern just makes him way the horse to beat. Almost a situation like I was saying as my single, little too good to be true on paper, but man, I thought he towered over this field, even though it does, in my eyes, look a little too easy as he goes out and is in for the 62.50.
Yeah, and that race was also impressive. He finished right between a pair of next out winners. But I tried to beat this horse today with my long shot Dad's Yankees, who's now in the Rashawn Creaky barn. The Gelding Cuts returns to Gulfstream after showing speed, weakening late when facing similar 6,250 claimers sprinting up on the main track at Tampa Bay. He's burning up the training track in preparation for the assignment. I like the work that Rashawn Creaky does with speed horses. Maybe I can get a shot here. I think the horse is 10-1 on the morning line, but you got to have Kalu on your ticket in there. And then I used Jamaican, and I wanted to show you a stat with Victor Barboza Jr. This is second after the claim with his low-level claimers on the dirt. He's 17 for 40, 43%, 78% in the money, and still a positive ROI. So a little further down my ticket, just wanted to put that stat out there for people that might want to be betting the late super or something like that.
I guess the question becomes, you got the good stat, which version of Jamaican do we get?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it seems like his form has just really taken a left-handed turn over his last two starts.
Yeah, I mean, that's the chance. But, maybe with that stat proves that maybe in the second start after the claim, he figures things out, talking about Victor Barboza, and gets the horse, just to be somewhere on your ticket. I thought I'd put that out there.
We'll wrap things up going 5 on the turf, and another very big scratch. And, in fact, I didn't see the morning line, but I would imagine the favorite in this race, or the morning line outside of my horse, who I know is 20-1 with Miguel. But the 6R Ninja JK, if not favored, was going to be top 2 in the betting. It still feels as though not only is there a plethora of speed signed on in this race, even with the absence of the 6R Ninja JK, you also get a sense, Ronnie, it seemed like everybody, or for the most part, a large chunk of the barns here all had the same idea. Let's run, let's dip in for maiden 25, because a lot of these horses are taking basically dips down in class and getting a little bit of class relief.
Yeah, and like you said, that was the morning favorite, the number 6 who scratched out of the race, or into JK. So I moved up the number 8 Rocket Blast, who's wheeling back after showing a fondness for sprinting on the grass. When he finished that game second at this level and distance, Ralph Nix, MSC Al Jaramillo, I went with the barn that I think, but with the scratch of the 6, his horse is going to run well. You got it in second, but I want to hear about this 12 horse. I actually want to see what you want to show us with Star Weaver.
Well, again, this goes back to this gelding by Dialed In, his debut on June 13th. He was a gazillion-1, but I remember watching this race live going, who is that moving out there in the black cap? Now, he went from last, and he's making this slingshot catapult run 4 to 5 wide, and he's actually gaining quite a bit of ground, and not surprisingly, he starts to flatten out by the time they hit the quarter pole. I think he showed enough with just an absolute Herculean impossible trip that this horse might have a little bit of ability. Now, I'd be lying if I said I thought he'd come back, and he basically drops out and he's out of the race at 43-1 or 42-1 for Kelsey Danner. I wasn't expecting or envisioning this horse to run back going 5. I figured he'd be in a 2-turn route race here from, say, 7.5 out to a mile and a 16. But again, with that crazy wide run that he made, I think he flashed at least a little bit of ability, and who knows, A, about his talent level, B, about the distance, but he's going to be a price. He gets Miguel, and this is a spot, even with the absence of our Ninja JK, most of the biggest contenders on paper, they all like to run and gun. So I do think, although speeds may wire, who knows, I think they're going to be flying up front. And if this horse can lay back from out there, maybe he comes with the run and can cut everybody down.
Yeah, you should get rewarded nicely. There was a couple of scratches in there, so we'll see how that race plays out. Should help with the post position a little bit for that number 12 Star Weaver.
Yeah, Miguel continues to ride well. In fact, both he and Edgar Zayas, who see action throughout the card, are above 100 wins here for the spring-summer meet. As we take a little breather here on the broadcast, up to Pete Aiella we go for those scratches and changes.